There's one more thing Trump and his Republican friends want to do. They want another giant tax cut for the wealthy. Now, I know some of you guys are tempted to think it's macho guy. I'll tell you what, man. When I was in Scranton, we used to have a little trouble going down the plot once in a while from Greenwich. But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass. By the way, I'm serious. Think about it.
In the surrounding suburbs as we speak. And Kendall, you can see it here. We look at Oklahoma City, and this, unfortunately, a scene that we see a lot of times, especially in the spring. But here we are in our second severe weather season, and again, down trees and power lines and homes being damaged as we speak.
That's right. And so to see scenes like this, the devastation coming out of the Oklahoma City metro, it's heartbreaking. I've got a lot of friends and family that live in this area, and especially when you think about some of these towns. So Valley Brook, the I-240 area, this is where we saw the majority of the devastation. And so we know that search and rescue is underway. We also understand that as of this morning, again, 7 tornadoes have been confirmed, but there might be as many as 12 to 13. And so this is a quickly evolving situation. And as the first responders are getting out on the scene in some of these hard-hit communities, as well as the National Weather Service, their storm survey teams this morning will also be surveying the damage. We'll be bringing you the latest findings, but more and more images coming in. Here's another video coming in from Norman, Oklahoma. I actually saw this on X. I believe this was on OU, so University of Oklahoma's campus, right after the tornado ripped through the area.
Oh my goodness. And Norman, Oklahoma, of course, a place where the Storm Prediction Center is actually located, but you can see the winds screaming across that parking lot. Unfortunately, several reports of injuries in Valley Brook, Oklahoma. Again, you're looking at video from Norman where that rain was coming down fast and furious. We at one point had, in the city of Oklahoma City and Del City, had at least 35,000 customers without power. And here's the reason why. Kendall, you can see not just the down trees, but the down power lines, the down power poles, knocking down traffic lights and antennas, the whole 9 yards. And this is leading to a really dark and kind of it's a dark morning this morning in parts of Oklahoma City.
Right, and you think about the fact that this occurred Saturday night during the early morning hours, probably caught a lot of folks off guard. This is Choctaw, Oklahoma. Power outages, like you mentioned, up to 64,000 now in Oklahoma, so those numbers just continue to increase. And that's pretty much going to be the name of the game as we watch as this cluster of storms races eastward. Would not be surprised if we see additional power outages right along the storm's path.
You know, we were just showing you video of Choctaw, Oklahoma, and the mayor, Chad Alcox, posting onto Facebook earlier just saying, please keep the city of Choctaw, Oklahoma, and the town of Harab in your thoughts and prayers. Significant damage has been reported in both locations, and they're, of course, thanking first responders for all of their work that they've been doing through the overnight hours.
At least 11 injured after terrorists threw a grenade in Srinagar, the capital of Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Out of the 11 injured, at least 3 people are said to be civilians. The blast took place at the Lal Chowk area of Srinagar during a busy Sunday market. The Jammu and Kashmir police have begun an investigation into the grenade attack. The area has been cordoned off after the explosion was reported in the heart of the city. The explosion took place close to the radio station and tourist reception center. It is pertinent to note that India's Jammu and Kashmir has seen a sharp surge in terror attacks and encounters in recent months.
इनको देखने आए थे इंजर्ड को और इनका जो भी अभी ट्रीटमेंट चल रहा है जो 2 पेशेंट्स हैं उनका अप्लाइन फॉर सर्जरीज और जो भी हमारे पास एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की जानिब से रिलीफ है वो हमने इमीडिएटली दिया है और इनका खास ख्याल रखा जाएगा और होपफुली इंशाल्लाह जल्दी रिकवर होकर डिस्चार्ज हो जाए। थैंक यू।
Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has raised concerns over the increasing terror attacks in the Union Territory. He has described the grenade attack deeply disturbing, saying there is no justification for targeting the civilians. The Chief Minister has appealed to the security forces to end this spate of attacks at the earliest so that people can go about their lives without any fear. The past few days have seen a series of gunfights between terrorists and security personnel Yesterday, a Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist was gunned down in Srinagar's Kanyar area. Some breaking news from West Asia. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed strong response to Hezbollah as he visited Lebanon border. His visit comes as over 100 projectiles were fired into Israeli territory from Lebanon. Earlier in the day, Israel bombarded the Lebanese city of Baalbek after IDF issued evacuation warnings in the city. Throughout this week, the Israeli army has pummeled various areas in the Bekaa Valley, killing dozens after having issued several evacuation warnings for the entire city of Baalbek and its surroundings.
Moving on, in a significant foreign policy move, Indonesia is set to hold its first naval drill with Russia this week. This comes as newly inaugurated President Prabowo Subianto aims to strengthen ties with Moscow. The Indonesian Navy has announced that the joint drill will take place from November 4th to November 8th in the Java Sea near the Surabaya Naval Base. The exercise will highlight a growing partnership between both the nations amid rising global tensions. The drill comes at a time when Indonesia is diversifying its military partnerships, when the United States is trying to diplomatically and militarily isolate Moscow. Indonesian President Prabowo, who visited Moscow in July for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin, has promised a more assertive foreign policy. While Indonesia has historically maintained a neutral stance, avoiding alignment in Russia-Ukraine war, now analysts believe this shift reflects Prabowo's ambition to elevate Jakarta's role on the international stage. The Indonesian Navy reported that Russia will send 3 Corvette-class warships, a medium tanker, a military helicopter, and a tugboat for the drills. Russian ambassador to Indonesia, Sergei Tolchanov, has stated that these exercises are aimed at enhancing capabilities of both the nations' fleet, dismissing any notion of aggression towards rival powers. Despite the Western pressure, Indonesia is looking to strengthen its ties with Moscow. Indonesia last week also started the process of becoming a member of the BRICS bloc led by Russia, Brazil, India, China, and South Africa.
Chinese researchers have stimulated a scenario involving Japanese stealth fighter jets targeting Shanghai. Now, the findings reveal insights into air defense capabilities and military preparedness. Researchers from the People's Liberation Army's National Defense University have conducted simulations to assess whether Japanese stealth fighters could penetrate China's air defense systems. Now, their findings indicate that while stealth aircraft may be detected from 180 kilometers away, certain cruise missiles could reach targets over 900 kilometers. The simulations revealed that advanced jets like the F-22 and the F-35 would be detected by ground-based radar long before they entered the range required for precision strikes. Now, specifically, these fighters could be identified before reaching the critical 24-kilometer zone necessary for effective bomb deployment. However, the F-35 offers tactical versatility, capable of switching to beast mode for enhanced firepower at the cost of stealth. And this transformation allows it to carry longer range missiles, although it risks detection from much greater distances. The study was presented at the 36th China Simulation Conference in Yangzhou, marking a significant moment as it is the first time the PLA has shared war game results involving a major Chinese urban target. Notably, the identities of the aircraft operators in the simulations remain undisclosed. Xiao Wei, the lead engineer for the project, highlighted that the results could be conservative, based solely on 3 radar systems. And this suggests that with more advanced detection technology, the outcomes may have varied significantly. Amidst rising tensions, the US military is increasing its fleet of F-22s stationed in Japan. And this move has raised concerns within the Chinese military about the potential threat posed by these advanced aircraft.
All right, moving to West Asia now. The United States has issued a stern warning to Iran against launching another strike on Israel. According to reports, Washington told Iran it won't be able to hold Tel Aviv back or ensure that the next attack is calibrated and targeted as the previous one. Now, there's no response from the U.S. or Iran to this report, which came hours after Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's latest statement. In a video released by Iranian state media, Khamenei had threatened Israel as well as the U.S. with a crushing response over attacks on Iran and its proxies. Now, he, however, did not elaborate on the timing of the attack nor its scope. Notably, Iran has notified airspace closure from tomorrow till November 6th, citing gunfire. Iran has carried out 2 major attacks against Israel in 2024, one in April after a strike on its consulate in Damascus that was blamed on Israel, and another in October that Tehran said was in response to the assassination of Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh and Hassan Nasrallah, the chief of Hezbollah. Meanwhile, the war in Gaza continues. The Israeli Defense Forces said 2 of its soldiers have been killed during fighting in the northern Gaza Strip on Saturday. In a span of a week of operation in northern Gaza's Jabalia, the IDF said that its troops have killed some 900 terror operatives. Now, meanwhile, the World Health Organization said 4 children were among 6 people that were wounded in a strike on a polio vaccination center. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom has said that vaccination center was in an area where a humanitarian pause was agreed to allow vaccination to proceed. On the other hand, the Israeli military said it identified 2 projectiles crossing into Israeli territory from northern Gaza. Now, it was the first such rocket fire from Gaza in weeks. Meanwhile, protests continue in Israel. Hundreds gathered in Tel Aviv demanding that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu secure a deal to release the hostages taken by Hamas militants on October 7, while the others called for elections and for Netanyahu to step down. WION's Anas Malik has interacted with some youth in a park and tried to understand what they think about their expectations from the government. This is in Tehran. Take a listen.
My name is Mohammed, and right now I study, and my major is human science.
Mohammed, there is a new government after recent elections. As a young person, what are your expectations with this new government? Will things get better?
Yes, for first thing I want to talk about is education, because as I said, I'm a student, and one of the things I consider fixing is our exams, because is, in my opinion, one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, because you have to study and just don't sleep only, for example, to get maybe a 10. So it's one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, and since I'm in high school, it's beneficial for my future, and yeah, that's one of the things.
My name is Amir and I work as a clothes retailer in the market. I expect the new government to provide us normal and simple life and welfare. We do not expect a lot from our government. It is a good government. The issue of inflation for the younger generation like ours makes the situation worse and causes a lot of troubles. We would request the government to provide more economic relief and care more about the people. Yes, I come to this park often. While the facility here is good, more of such parks have to be made.
Protests erupted on Sunday as Spain's King Felipe visited a suburb in Valencia badly hit by last week's deadly floods. Residents of Paiporta shouted murderers at the King and Queen, as well as Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. People hurled mud and other objects at them, venting pent-up anger over what they believe were poor handling by the authorities of last Tuesday's storm and flooding. It was known and nobody did anything about it, a young man told Felipe. The king stayed despite the chaos to speak with the people. He was seen hugging some residents and at one point had a man crying on his shoulder. Residents are furious at the authorities, accusing them of sending late warnings about the dangers of the storm and floods. They also say emergency services responded slowly after disaster struck. The central government has said issuing alerts to the population is the responsibility of regional authorities. Valencia's officials have said they acted as best they could with the information available to them. Prime Minister Sanchez said on Saturday that any potential negligence would be investigated later. The death toll from the country's worst flash floods in modern history edged higher on Saturday. Almost all have been in the Valencia region and especially Paiporta. But it's still expected to rise, with dozens of people still unaccounted for, while some 3,000 households remained without power, officials said. With the floods causing extensive damage to the region, many local residents are now coming together to rebuild their communities. Here in Chiva, about 19 miles from Valencia, many people were seen helping to clear mud and debris off the streets, while others signed up as volunteers to hand out food, water and other essential supplies. It comes as thousands of additional troops and police joined the disaster relief effort over the weekend in the largest such peacetime operation in Spain. The tragedy is so far Europe's worst flood-related disaster in a single country since 1967, when around 500 people died in Portugal.